Call the member for Ryde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The budget is a significant opportunity for governments to map out their priorities for the state and, of course, for local communities. And many in my community know of my love of Ryde. I wear it on my shoulder every day. And it would be remiss of me not to take this opportunity in Parliament to not urge this Parliament and new government to ensure that my community receives the investments and support that it needs and frankly deserves. Members not familiar with Ryde may be interested to know that it is a dynamic and fast-growing community, increasingly feeling the pinch of the pressures associated with living in a global city and the omnipresence of the very high and rapidly rising cost of living. This budget is an opportunity to tackle these issues, and it gives me great pleasure to advocate in this place for better health, education, infrastructure, open space, domestic violence and accessibility programs to help ensure that Ryde remains the very best place to live, work and raise a family. Over the past couple of terms, Ryde was the beneficiary of unprecedented levels of investment in new school infrastructure. We've seen some musings from the government in recent days about a new school in Melrose Park, yet we are yet to see any detail with respect to the actual site. This is the same story for the promised K-12 Macquarie Park School, where I note the government has disavowed a previously identified location. Now, it is the government's prerogative to make change, but if it is their intention to abandon the location of a previously promised school, then they must budget accordingly. And in order to reduce the delays associated with the location change, the required funding must be nominated now. There is also an opportunity in respect to health to allocate an additional $150 million to Ryde Hospital for MRI, mental health and other much needed facilities. This was discussed by representatives of the government before the election and would be welcomed strongly by myself as the local MP. I note that this would be in addition to the already allocated $479 million, which was funded under the previous Liberal government for the wholesale rebuild and turning of the hospital, which I was indeed born, into a modern, vibrant facility that will serve our local community. There is also work to be done by this government with respect to widening Victoria Road. Before the election, I was successful in securing a modest sum of funds to finalise a business case for this project. And whilst it is an important first step, there remains much to do that will impact more than just my electorate, but those of the members for Parramatta, Lane Cove, Drummoyne and Balmain, to name a few. This expansion will help reduce traffic congestion, improve commuting times and enhance overall road safety. It would be a legacy piece for this government, a demonstration of clear future vision. Inaction, on the other hand, would likely see it emerge only as a vision of the rear-view mirror. It links closely with the success of the regional and local repair program. When I was the Mayor of Ryde, I was successful in securing over $3 million to repair over 65 local roads damaged by rain, floods and other weather events. But there's much more to do. And the rollover of this program would be a game changer for Ryde and simply must be included in this budget. This government must also honour the $600,000 funding commitment that I secured before the election for the Northern Centre in West Ryde. Operating their safety program, they have helped hundreds of local women not just escape family and domestic violence, but also stay away. I understand that this government has to date only committed $40,000, which is less than 7% of that funding. My view is that we can't do enough to tackle this crisis, and I don't feel that this view can be overstated. Please, to this government, fund the safety program and help my community tackle this terrible scourge. We can also do more with respect to cost of living and restoring many of those voucher programs and initiatives that have been so successful, particularly throughout COVID. We've spoken about Active Kids, First Lap and Creative Kids in this place, giving kids an opportunity to be involved in sport, creativity and many life skills such as swimming, which is so important for those living in Australia. This is something that was committed by government before the election and very eloquently put by the Premier, and yet we have heard in recent times that these projects are due to be cut. There is indeed time. The budget is not until next week, and I would urge them to be continued. I'm also calling on this Parliament to work with the City of Ryde Council on its acquisition of the TG Milner playing fields. There are a few premier fields like it in Sydney, and seeing its protection would be a game changer, not just for the Ryde community, but for sporting communities right around Sydney. The Council is an able and willing partner and would look to work with them constructively. And finally, I've read in recent days that the government has plans to cut the very popular Park and Pay program. Now, as somebody who's previously worked in disability, I can't emphasise enough the importance of accessibility with respect to mobility in transport and parking. This is a dynamic and innovative app, something that was a great success of the previous government that shouldn't be under risk. I urge you, this government, to not go backwards, put Ryde first and make sure these projects are adequately funded.